Breaking right now on Denver 7 News at 5 a.m. Tragedy hits a quiet Loveland neighborhood.
We usually don't see that around here. Everybody hold your kids tight.
Well, 3 children are safe this morning as police investigate a double murder that happened inside their home.
Being fully vaccinated isn't enough to guard against Omicron subvariants. The new boosters you'll soon be able to get.
And it's day 3 of Broncos training camp. You're going to notice some players sporting unusual helmets this season, and not all of them are in love with the new gear.
Kind of feel like a bobblehead.
While they do look a little interesting, a little different than what we've seen in the past, they're ultimately for safety.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm Jessica Crawford.
And I'm Nicole Brady. Yeah, you might need a cute hat to keep you dry sometimes as we have this forecast for the Friday and weekend, Lisa.
Yeah, that one's not cute. No, I'm going to have to agree with some of those players. Not the cutest. But you're right. We do have a chance for more storms and showers today. Here at now 5:01, the risk of severe weather is going to be a lot lower today. Light green covering the entire state, where we have a chance for a few general thunderstorms, but the risk of the larger hail, damaging winds, that's going to be lower. We will see some areas again where the rain turns a little bit heavier, might get a little more flooding to the southwest and also down across parts of southeastern Colorado. But as you can see, skies have cleared out here nicely, and overnight, I think we all slept a little better without a lot of thunder and lightning. Low to mid 80s for highs today. Denver's going to be right around 82 to near 85 degrees. So we're slowly getting a little closer to that normal high of 90. We'll get there this weekend, though. So a little warmer today, also a little drier. There will be storms, though, this afternoon, Jason. It's just that risk of severe weather is a lot lower.
Yeah, I wasn't watching all kinds of stuff floating down the road at midnight. Right now we have, as you can see, but I was dodging a wrong way driver. Right down Lincoln Street. All right, so Highway 36, you can see how 6th Avenue, I-25 up by Longmont over in Thornton. It all looks good for us here this morning. As you can see on the overall map, a lot of green out there, including 2 are from the airport. No leftover construction down here in Castle Pines on that northbound side of I-25. That's all lifted and moved out of the way. And drive times are really standard for us, with the speeds in the high side in the 60s and 70s, depending on where you're traveling here this morning. So not seeing any problems anywhere around town. Santa Fe, 285, 6th Avenue, it all looks great right now.
Breaking news this morning, one person is fighting for their life after an apartment fire in Aurora. This happened at a multifamily home near Quincy Avenue and Buckley Road. Aurora Fire Rescue says the fire is now under control, but there is an active gas leak.
Well, we're following developments this morning after a double murder in Loveland. Police confirmed overnight that 2 people were shot and killed before the suspect fled and eventually killed himself. We have Denver 7's Russell Haythorne live at the scene this morning near Aries Drive and Pavo Court. And Russell, this is just horrible. 3 children were found hiding in that house. Can't imagine what they're going through. What do we know about the victims?
Yeah, Nicole, you're right. A horrific situation for this otherwise quiet neighborhood here in Loveland. What we know is that all indications are this was a family. You can see that police have finally removed the crime scene tape from around the home. As you mentioned, there were 2 shooting victims who died in this case, and then there were also 3 juveniles, according to police, who were inside the home hiding at the time. Police say they were safely removed, but even this morning we still don't know the conditions of those 3 juveniles. We also know the person that police are calling the suspect is now dead, apparently of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. We have some video to show you from yesterday afternoon. Police say it was just after 2 o'clock they arrived on scene. They had gotten a call about a weapon here, a 911 call. It was at that time, neighbors tell Denver 7 they heard 2 loud bangs, which neighbors now know were gunshots. Then there was screaming from a woman and kids, apparently. Neighbors describe a flood of officers pouring into the neighborhood with guns drawn, surrounding the house. And after about 45 minutes, neighbors say they heard a flashbang outside the home's door, and that's when police went in to get the 3 kids who were in hiding.
We get out here and look, and there's just people, guns drawn. I mean, the SWAT team was here and just kids screaming in the streets, and it was just like, what is happening here? And you could just see something in the yard. There was a white sheet over it. So I just all of a sudden went into a panic, and it just didn't look good.
A tragedy for this neighborhood here in Loveland. Police have identified the possible suspect as 49-year-old Javier Acevedo. A neighbor did tell us that a man by that name had at one point at least lived in this home. Police say he was found in Erie, about 30 minutes south of here, and he was found dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. That's the very latest from up here in Loveland. We'll of course continue to follow all of the developments throughout the morning. For now, we're live. Back to you guys.
All right. Thank you, Russell. Very sad. Take a look at your screen here. Fort Collins police are looking for this 15-year-old. Tegan Pixley Johnson is wanted for attempted murder after a shooting. It happened near Overland Trail and Mulberry Street yesterday. Police found a 28-year-old man with multiple gunshot wounds. They believe the victim and Pixley Johnson know each other.
We'll see an updated COVID booster this September. The efficacy data is limited, but the updated shot is expected to be stronger against the Omicron subvariant BA.5. It's become the most dominant strain of the virus in the U.S. and much of the world. We spoke to a local doctor about the importance of boosters in the coming months.
Where we sit at the moment is the variants are coming out at a 5 to 7 month rate. And they're divergent enough such that getting boosters every 6 months or so is going to be a really good idea. I would say probably for the next year. After that, we're not really clear on how the variants will spin out. Whether that variant development will be on a 6-month time scale, will it be on a 2-year time scale? And so our boosting regimen, recommended boosting regimen, is really going to be centered on that rate of variant generation.
Right now, only Americans 50 and older and the immunocompromised are eligible for a second booster. If you've had COVID, you were likely only sick for a few days, but some people have symptoms for weeks, even months later. A new research study is looking for those people.
They'll have questionnaires that'll get at those symptoms and their severity. There'll be a physical examination to evaluate the individual, as well as a variety of clinical tests to evaluate the various organs affected by the virus and long COVID.
There are more than 80 study sites around the country, including in Aurora and Denver. You can learn more on the website recovercovid.org.
Well, parents, no reason to panic, but if you have a baby, you do need to know about a health advisory from the CDC about something called parechovirus. It's spreading across several states, and Children's Hospital Colorado told me they're seeing cases here.
For the parents of very young infants who may hear about parechovirus and be a little more concerned, is there anything you should do if you do have a very young infant right now?
Absolutely. So a fever, so a temperature greater than 100.4 in the first 2 months of life is a reason to go see your pediatrician or a local ER immediately. Those babies do need to be evaluated. The majority of them don't have an infection and don't need to be treated, but we are very cautious in that age range.
Parechovirus impacts children under 5 years old, and especially the youngest infants. And he mentioned, of course, symptoms to watch for are fever, also rash or poor eating. Children's Hospital Colorado has a spinal fluid test that can tell them within just 2 hours if a child has a common virus or another bacterial infection. He says the virus, parechovirus, disappeared during COVID, but we're seeing it spike now, possibly because kids don't have the immunity to it that they did before the pandemic.
It's day 3 of training camp for the Broncos, and they'll be back out at the UC Health Training Center at 10 this morning.
Yeah, once again, Russell Wilson started day 2 by high-fiving the fans watching from the field there. His wife, Sierra, and their kids also came out again to cheer him on. And you may have noticed, if you were out there, some of the unique helmets players are wearing. They're called Guardian caps. The NFL has made them mandatory for all linemen, linebackers, and tight ends. Our sports team asked the players how they like the new headgear.
They're kind of ugly, but
they're not necessarily the best fashion statement. I was thinking about wearing one, but I decided not to.
Kind of just makes my head feel heavy. Kind of feel like a bobblehead, man. I feel like it adds it gives me -5 speed on Madden.
We have a joke in the O-line room. We won't be getting any good pictures in training camp with these on.
Well, all joking aside, the NFL found the caps reduce impact severity by at least 10%, and so that's what matters there. Denver 7 is your home for Broncos training camp. We have special coverage tomorrow, starting at 7 a.m. Of course, the Saturday session, no doubt, will be very popular, Lisa.
It will,
Yeah.
and we're going to have a special show here on Denver 7 early Saturday morning. Take a look at your Broncos training camp forecast for today. More sunshine. It was actually really pleasant out there at Dove Valley yesterday. We had cloud cover and nice temps. We're going to be at about 70 degrees here by 10. By noon, a few building clouds. Near 80 degrees by 12 o'clock as practice gets wrapped up. And then, well, more storms popping up. I'll show you the timing of those coming up.
And not anticipating any travel issues getting over there on Arapahoe Road or Potomac or Peoria or Broncos Parkway. This is over there in the foothills of Genesee on the the Buffalo Herd, westbound, eastbound, looking just fine for us. No fog like we saw yesterday, so the visibility is much better up along 285 as well.
I know we all love a good nap here, but this may not be the best place to take one. A deep sleeping Colorado man is going viral for this video.
I'm John Matteries. As you try to stay hydrated this summer, you might see a lot of electrolyte replacement drinks. Are they the best idea? That story coming up.